Initiated by Dean Ted Elliott in 1983, the Dean's Medal honors those who have served notably in the international arena. Recipients include Kofi Annan, Dr. Helen Gale, President and CEO of CARE, Kofi Annan, former Secretary General, Martti Ahtisaari, international negotiator and recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, John Kerry, United States Secretary of State and former United States Senator from Massachusetts, Rajiv Shah, head of the U.S. Agency for International Development and now president of the Rockefeller Foundation, Richard Engel, Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent for NBC News. As Dean of the Fletcher School, it's an honor and privilege to present our highest award, the Dean's Medal, to Susan E. Rice. For over 25 years, Susan Rice has been a highly influential player in U.S. foreign policy. She's respected for her keen intellect, broad grasp of the range of issues which challenge not only the United States, but the global community, and her willingness to make tough decisions, well aware that principled leadership on foreign policy is not for the timid or the faint of heart. As former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said, "If I were to characterize her, she is fearless." Ambassador Rice served President Barack Obama as U.S. National Security Advisor from 2013 to 2017 and as U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations from 2009 to 2013, when she was also a member of the President's Cabinet. In her role as National Security Advisor, Ambassador Rice led the National Security Council staff and chaired the cabinet-level National Security Council Principals Committee. She provided the President daily national security briefings and was responsible for coordinating the formulation and implementation of all aspects of the Obama administration's foreign and national security policy, intelligence, and military efforts. In her role at the United Nations, Ambassador Rice worked to advance U.S. interests, defend universal values, strengthen the world's security and prosperity, and promote respect for human rights. From 2002 to 2008, she was a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, where she published widely on U.S. foreign policy, transnational security threats, peacekeeping, and the implications of fragile states and global policy and development. Earlier in her career, from 1993 to 1997, she served on the National Security Council as Special Assistant to President Bill Clinton, Senior Director for African Affairs, and Director for International Organizations and Peacekeeping. Now, I don't want to put any pressure on our graduates, but I would note that when Ambassador Rice joined the National Security Council in 1993, she was about the average age that you are now. In 1997, she was appointed Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, a position which she held until 2001. Working closely with her lifelong friend and then Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, Assistant Secretary Rice formulated and implemented U.S. policy towards 48 countries in sub-Saharan Africa and oversaw the management of 43 U.S. embassies. In 2002, she was named co-recipient of the White House's Samuel Nelson Drew Memorial Award for distinguished contributions to the formation of peaceful cooperation between states. Ambassador Rice received her bachelor's degree in history with honors from Stanford University, where she was awarded Phi Beta Kappa and was a Truman Scholar. She then earned her master's degree and a PhD in international relations from New College, Oxford University, where she was a Rhodes Scholar. She was awarded the Chatham House British International Studies Association Prize for the most distinguished doctoral dissertation in the United Kingdom in the field of international relations in 1990. She has served on numerous boards, including the Bureau of National Affairs, the National Democratic Institute, and the U.S. Fund for UNICEF. In 2017, French President François Hollande presented Ambassador Rice with the award of Commander in the Legion of Honor of France for her contributions to Franco-American relations. She's currently a visiting Distinguished Research Fellow at the School of International Service at American University. For many years, Her right-hand man, Salman Abad, a close friend of mine, served Ambassador Rice, and I've spoken to him at length about that service, and he said he couldn't have had a better boss, so I envy him deeply. Ambassador Rice, it's with great pride that I have the opportunity, by the power vested in me by the president of Tufts University, as Dean of the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, to present the Fletcher Dean's Medal to you for your devotion to public service, for your lifelong commitment to helping citizens of this country and the world better understand the choices facing the global community, for your determination to work with national and international communities in the search to develop relationships of mutual benefit, security, and justice, and last, but certainly not least, for serving as a role model for students such as ours at Fletcher who seek solutions to some of the world's most intractable challenge. Ambassador Rice, congratulations. There it is. Congratulations. When we go to the
Good afternoon, everyone. More than anything, I'm reminded how old I am by that very generous introduction. So let me begin by just making sure, is everybody here doing okay? Feeling all right? Yeah? Everybody sober and at attention? After the ambassadors, I'm not sure. But I won't ask for too much. I understand how this goes. Dean Johnstone, thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this weekend's celebrations. It's an honor to receive the Dean's Award and to address these soon-to-be graduates, a highly talented cohort of now very well-trained public leaders. But first and foremost, congratulations to the class of 2019. Congratulations. You have busted your behinds to get here, and your families have sacrificed in countless ways to support you. And let's give a round of applause to the families. This is a very big milestone, and you should be deeply proud of yourselves. I know all of us are deeply proud of you. Bearing in mind that you are unlikely to remember much, if anything, of what I say, let me not abuse your patience too much. Until a few days ago, I'd planned to deliver an erudite treatment of one of the most pressing foreign policy questions of the moment. How can a new American leader take the necessary steps to recover from the international damage done by 4 years, hopefully no more, of President Trump? Clearly, I came to the right place. How can we repair and renew our global leadership role, restore the trust of our allies, and the respect and caution of our adversaries? It's a critical question to address, and you seem like an audience that could take it. And then I thought again, how complicated, how depressing. But above all, how uncertain is the depth from which we must recover. Nothing is static, particularly in the insane world of Washington today. And if we've learned anything over the last 2.5 years, it's that things can always get worse. I really hit the brakes midweek after I reluctantly concluded that my successor as National Security Advisor might seriously be trying to launch us into a foolhardy, catastrophic war with Iran. Despite President Trump's professed reluctance, John Bolton and Mike Pompeo seem keen to provoke or manufacture a casus belli, despite providing no evidence that the threat from Iran has measurably increased. After unilaterally blowing up the Iran nuclear deal, despite Iran's verified adherence to it, after outsourcing our regional policy to the Saudis and other partners, and reimposing crippling sanctions, we are now taking additional steps that suggest a determined march to conflict. In an unprecedented move, the State Department is withdrawing hundreds of staff, all but essential personnel, from Iraq, citing heightened security concerns. This in a country where U.S. personnel remained in steady levels throughout the war against Saddam Hussein, and in 2014, when ISIS directly threatened Baghdad. Meanwhile, the Defense Department is preparing to send tens of thousands of troops and accompanying massive quantities of military hardware to the Gulf region. All that the hawks in the White House Situation Room seem to lack, for the moment, is a reason to use them. Of course, if that happens, all bets are off. So I decided not to spend your precious time gazing into a crystal ball, trying to divine what frightful scenarios may unfold, and then how to mitigate their damage. Instead, I'll focus on something about which I have a lot more certainty, and that you have complete ability to control. That is, how can each of you develop into the best leader possible? This is a subject I've been thinking a lot about as I've been writing variously about my family and upbringing, my roughly 25 years of public service, as well as my hopes and concerns for our future. Embedded in this work is much of what I've learned over the years about how to lead effectively. From the teachings of my parents and mentors, from my youthful mistakes and painful public setbacks, to the successes I take most pride in, I've distilled 5 major lessons, or more than 5, but I won't trouble you with more than 5, that I hope might also serve you well. First, I hope you will devote all or part of your careers to service. There is no more rewarding, meaningful work than that of serving others. Service can take many forms, from government and international institutions to civil society, from journalism to science and medicine, from development and human rights advocacy to law. While the forms of service are nearly infinite, the purpose is constant: to leave others, your country, and the world better than you found them, to lift up those who will come behind you. Already to you, like me, much has been given, not least this exceptional Fletcher education. With privilege comes responsibility. You have the opportunity, and I believe the obligation, to give back. I know some of you already have, whether in uniform, diplomatic service, or the Peace Corps, and many other ways, and I hope you will continue to do so. For those taking a different path, you have plenty of time. My first job after my PhD in international relations was as a management consultant for McKinsey & Company. I learned a great deal about problem solving, effective communication, and team dynamics that helped me in every segment of my career, including government. Later, I worked in the think tank world and the nonprofit world, which were also beneficial. Yet honestly, nothing has been as gratifying, as challenging, and as important as my service in government. But I'm not going to lie, It hasn't always been easy. I've lost colleagues to terrorists and the other hazards of overseas service. And I've faced attacks on my own character that grew increasingly brutal the higher I rose. Still, I would not trade public service for anything. I hope at some stage that you will have the same privilege, although I wish you fewer arrows to dodge. Your countries and our world desperately need your individual and collective contributions. Speaking of the rough and tumble of government and politics, we desperately need fresh leaders who understand what matters, patriots who know why they're serving. It's not about you, your group, your people, your party. It's not us versus them, a zero-sum competition where my win is your loss. Whether we like it or not, in this country, in other countries, in this world we share, we are all in it together. If others suffer, eventually you will too. We need leaders who seek to expand, not hoard opportunity, who practice tolerance and are unafraid of peaceful dissent. We need leaders who respect those with whom they differ and welcome divergent perspectives, who are willing to compromise and find common ground. We each need to understand that our ideological or political opponents are not our enemies, that they too can have worthy ideas and genuine motives. We need to remember that whatever our origin, our faith, our background, there is far more that unites us than divides us. Only in unity can we find strength. In division, we are doomed to weakness and decline. Second, effective leadership requires patience. It took me a long time to learn this, and I still struggle to exercise patience. But I've learned the hard way that often the best way to accomplish your goal is not the quickest, most direct route, but rather the path that enables you to bring others along with you. Decisions and strategies are far easier to sustain with the genuine buy-in of key stakeholders. You increase your impact by taking time. Time to listen, time to weigh alternative courses, to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, to solicit and welcome critical feedback. Leadership is a team sport, not a solo act. Third, nothing is more important than integrity. You have to be honest, trustworthy, and shoot straight to be respected and effective. Your team needs to know that you won't play games, that you will tell the uncomfortable truths and demand that they do the same. A strong leader selects and empowers good people, gives them latitude to perform, trusts their judgments, and steps in to back them up when needed. The best leaders set high goals, work hard, and prepare rigorously, demanding the most of themselves while setting the bar high for others. The team must know that it's not about you. It's about your shared mission and your shared success. Whether you are serving in government or the private sector, I believe it's also crucial to know your limits, what you just cannot abide, and when you are prepared to resign, if you must. Don't be afraid to go down fighting if you're fighting for a righteous cause. This mindset gives you the freedom to take risks, to get stuff done, not just to go along and get along. And I would say don't sweat too much what other folks may think of you. As Dr. Seuss said, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. In reality, it is hard to make progress without breaking a little crockery. But remember, you should never want something so badly that you do something you don't believe in to get it. If you act with integrity, you won't always win, but you're likely to earn the respect of others, and you will always respect yourself. Fourth, and this is hugely important, you need to know who you are and be confident in your abilities. You have to know your strengths, your weaknesses, your motives, your value. Don't let anyone define you for you. I learned a critical lesson from my parents, who variously battled Jim Crow, the soft bigotry of low expectations, and overt efforts to devalue their worth. From the segregated military at Tuskegee during World War II to the corporate boardrooms of the 21st century. My parents always taught me, let racism, sexism, homophobia, religious intolerance, whatever the prejudice, be the bigot's problem, not your own. By that they meant, if you let other people's bigotry affect you, to get into your head, diminish your confidence, define you for you, then the bigot has won, and you have defeated yourself. Never let prejudice be your weakness, your vulnerability. It's theirs. In other words, be proud, be strong, be tough. Know you belong and advocate for yourself. Women especially need to do a better job of believing in our worth, demanding equal pay, insisting on the promotion, refusing to patiently wait our turn while others charge ahead. To quote my late father, Emmett Rice, don't take crap off of anyone. This is a lesson that applies to everybody. Don't let anyone dismiss you or discount you. People can be mean. You can be targeted, lampooned, and attacked, sometimes for no good reason, for purposes that have little to do with who you are. Whatever path you take, you must develop a thick skin, and start now before you need it. You need to show grace under fire, but also know when to fire back. Very simply, sometimes life is not even close to fair, and merit isn't enough. I also learned this too late. Let me repeat, merit is not enough. It's not good enough to be great at what you do, to be best in class. It's critically important, but it's not enough. You also need people in your corner who will support you, fight for you when things go wrong. In other words, relationships matter. You need rabbis, mentors, friends that you have cultivated and nurtured. When the going gets tough, you need to be brave enough to ask for help from your long-term committed allies. After the stuff has hit the fan, it's too late to make new friends. It's lonely and difficult fighting a pitched battle in isolation. So prepare now for the crash that you can't see coming. And when you do get knocked down, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back in the game. Finally, if I may, a few words about your personal lives. Nothing is more important than family. Nothing. Nurture, prioritize, cherish your family and friends. They will be your backbone when all else fails. They are also the source of life's greatest fulfillment. When both my parents were struck by very serious illnesses, my colleagues were tremendous about stepping in for me in the halls of the United Nations or at the White House. But no one could step in for me at my parents' hospital beds. There's usually someone else who can do your job, but there's no one else who can be a loving child or a devoted parent. So be a compassionate leader. When your colleagues need time for family or health, cut them as much slack as you can, and take it for yourself when you need it. By the way, kids are the best. I'm blessed with two very different, sometimes challenging, but always wonderful kids. Being a mother is the highest responsibility and greatest privilege I've had. Women and men, if you want kids, don't put off starting a family. It's easy to let career intercede and to decide that you're too busy right now for kids. But you may find that it's hard to have children later in life. Plus, kids are exhausting. Parenthood is not an older person's comparative advantage. Three years ago, another speaker, Arianna Huffington, built her address to the Fletcher class of 2016 around a simple but important message. Getting sufficient sleep is key to effective leadership. She is absolutely right. The biggest mistakes are often made by people who are not sleeping enough. So take care of yourself. The habits that you form now will endure for many years to come. Exercise. Go to the doctor. Control your stress. Find quiet time for yourself to relax. Sleep. The bottom line is, if you won't care enough for yourself, no one will. I know that's a lot of unsolicited advice. And if someone had told me when I finished graduate school all of this, I'm not sure I would have appreciated it at all. Like everyone, I've made mistakes and grown a little wiser along the way. But I've also been incredibly fortunate and would not trade my life experience for anything. I wish you the very best, and above all, the good fortune to be able to say the same when in the years to come, we are all looking to you for the wise and principled leadership that our world so badly needs. Good luck and Godspeed.
Ambassador Rice, you seem to have struck a chord. Thank you for those powerful and important words and giving us a little bit of a glimpse into your personal and your professional life. And for those of you who missed any of it, a new book will be coming out very soon, which will tell us more about Ambassador Rice's extraordinary life. So thank you so much for being here.